Hi, I'm Scott Volpenheim, Director of Marketing at ERP Suites. I'm here with Mark Zink, and we're going to talk about analytics today.
Thanks, Scott. Look forward to the conversation.
So I want to talk today about J.D. Edwards Analytics and our strategy today. How does it differ from what was done in the past in that approach?
There's a couple ways of kind of slicing this one. One way is, the way we would have done it in the past was clearly to leverage the extent of our investment in the ERP package. So what Oracle, J.D. Edwards at the time, had provided us was using their tool sets, using the traditional relational model, being able to write, for the most part, text-based style reporting, whether it was in a column or in a group, or a fair amount of aggregations with the data. But it was pretty traditional. It was Adobe or in most cases a PDF format or a CSV output. That was the extent of which companies were really getting key reporting. That same tool set was actually used not only for analytics or for some kind of analysis primarily, but it was also used for batch operations, so processing logic. Okay, so a lot of companies approached it that way, and rightfully so. It kind of taken the opportunity to use that tool set and try to answer business problems with that, traditionally in the form of data. Second approach would have been sort of, some folks had adopted realized that ERP was really a transaction processing tool set, nice and efficient at storing transactions and records and putting it on hardware in a cost-effective way. Some organizations had kind of taken that approach that in order to get some of the insights and analytics that they were looking for from their management, they would have taken a data warehouse approach. So there's flavors out there, different brands, whether business objects or, in that particular case, what you were really doing was taking traditional transaction files, in some cases summarizing them, aggregating them, placing them in relatively pre-configured data mart designs. So the onus was largely on IT, was to take data from source systems and move them directionally in one direction towards a reporting platform or an analytic platform. And they, in turn, offered a lot of the things that what companies were looking for, more of, more visuals around the data and less of, text-based, simplified reporting.
Okay.
Now, some may argue and say, hey, there's some tool sets around Edwards that enable, some of that graphical reporting. I get that. That's perfectly fine. But what we're really talking about with our approach, is really not only is it to bring forward that data into essentially a data catalog where you can source it to answer many questions, but it doesn't come with the same rigor and structure that you would traditionally have seen in a data warehouse. Like, we're not really trying to predetermine data relationships. We're really not looking to create yet another structured environment where data has to fit and conform. Rather, instead, or for that matter, even preferred data. In the past, we would have only said these certain data elements were relevant because maybe the storage would have cost more or required more attention, or maybe even database resources. Now what we're really looking for is to take in all forms of data, like I mentioned, whether it be relational, whether it be NoSQL, whether it be flat file, whether it be REST API, whether it be application-based data, all these other kinds of sources, text, images, to bring that kind of data in, and being able to, be able to analyze that more in a flexible environment, and being able to create an end user community rather than a technical community. So instead of saying I couldn't get this particular attribute or value, you have the opportunity, to store it or create it yourself. So in our platform, not only are you able to consume data, but you can also create content as referential data. So, and I'm not talking about data tables, I'm talking about being able to author your own data without really the necessity of going inside the database to do that. So we see it as less of a data warehousing activity And we see it as more of certainly a far more flexible environment. Some may call it a data lake, and I'm okay with that. But what I really see it as is more than anything else is it really is an environment that can consume all forms of data in such a way that those individuals, not the departments that we think of in the past, like IT and finance, but for others to be able to author their own insights, be able to identify their own insights. So it's really a much broader conversation, much broader user group. And so in a data warehousing environment, like I mentioned earlier, it was a lot of IT involvement.
Yeah.
And a lot of brute force with the business team to identify their reporting needs, to pre-configure those reporting needs. Well, by the time you've maybe pre-configured your reporting and your decision needs, maybe your decision parameters have changed. This is an environment that's really enabling that level of flexibility, that maybe the business environment has changed quickly enough that you can reconfigure or re-understand maybe your insights and your understanding and being able to apply those opportunities to either the past and or the future.